Welcome back to CDC Growthonomics. Today is our last of product analytics, and we're going to talk about product analytics metrics that matter. Now, as you all well familiar with your product space know that when it comes down to product and metrics, there's thousands of that, right? It may start with for our app users. It may start with DAU MAU or the ratios, and then there is the retained users, RMAU. There is the returning users, also RMAU, and so on and so forth. And from there, it goes down into you have activated the product or not. Have you done whatever that 7-day retention has happened or not, whether your habituation has happened or not, and so on and so forth. Whether you have like this further up from here might be installs and registration, and further down from here could be trialers and so on and so forth. So this was for talking about, for example, for an app, right? A premium app that gives some paid and free features. In the context of going back to, and here we are talking about metrics that matter, or metrics of most importance that we're going to talk about. So the other aspect of so I'm going to go back to bookings.com or the website that gives us. So I'm not talking specifically of bookings.com as an example. I'm not saying we're doing work with them. It's just that I'm saying that, let's say that is a website where you're doing a search, and then you have these these hotel listings that comes up, and then so what are for you, when we think about metrics that matter, what are the most important product analytics MOM? And they're different. So MOMs are going to be different by different organization, different company, even similar businesses, depending on how they are organized. So in this case, this company that most importantly wants to provide bookings, it probably, and often for our startups, growth tends to be the biggest metric, and then the revenue is the driver for growth, or revenue growth is what we are interested in. And it is also possible that they are looking at profit. So whatever those metrics are, and then create a Pareto of, that's a function. The revenue is a function of number of daily visits we had times the conversion we had on a daily basis, and then your daily visits and conversion, and then conversion gets further divided up into something else, and so on. Most important part is for every, so this is at the org level, but then at the individual person level, let's say there's a product manager who's responsible for growth, revenue growth itself. What are the most important metrics? How is she going to look at their metric that matter? Most important part for you to know is there's no standard answer. Each product owner, department head should figure out what are the most KPI for them, what are the drivers of those KPIs, and what drives those drivers, right? I have, by the way, seen very many versions of these that people do. One of the things where I've seen, so first of all, most people don't think of metrics this way. They think about metrics as a standard way and measuring the way they have been measuring, and often those are emerging from bottoms up view versus top down view. So very few people actually create this kind of DuPont. I call them, this is a KPI DuPont. And we also talked about this in the analytics agenda video early on, I think in January, but in the analytics readiness section. But here, this specifically is on the focus of product. And what a lot of times I see companies do on the product side is they create their L1, L2, L3, but it's not fully mathematical. They just think about, hey, broadly speaking, I'm interested in profits, and my profits we know is driven by listings. It's also driven by our CSATs. And what happens is they often do not, they have these L1, L2 defined, but what they don't have is exact math there, which basically leaves gaps. It leaves a significant number of, I'm going outside the, so it leaves significant amount of gaps for them to fill. I would say when you're doing, the way to do this right is make it mathematical, as, hey, our last quarter earning or last month earning was 10 million in profits. Can I draw the Pareto, which will give me exact listing? And some of this, would be dotted lines. So that means, for example, if you want CSAT in there, CSAT can be there. That's a correlation. It's a dotted line. But when you're looking at your 10 million, those are solid lines that you're going to build and really come down to 10 million comes from a 1 million visit that happens, which average transaction size was $1,000, and the conversion rate was basically 0.1%, I think. I don't know, you have to do the math. But anyway, point being, they should be, as you're drawing your Paretos, it needs to be exact to get your 10 million. So then again, then your 1 million, where they're coming from different sources, they need to add up to 1 million. If you're going to cut it by sources, then it's like, okay, 700K of that came from Facebook, and then 100K came from Google, and so on and so forth. It needs to be 100% mathematical for you to. Well, and why are you doing that? The reason you do that is that this helps you identify, listen, 1 million, if I were to be able to change that by 10%, I'm able to improve my revenue by 10%. But if I'm able to improve my Google by 10%, that only has an impact of smaller 2% on the revenue. It starts giving you clarity on your driver metrics, the relative importance to your top metric. And then I do highly recommend that this exercise should be done for every PM, should have their own MOM, and that should translate into OKRs, right? So there's a direct connection between strategic and tactical. What they're doing on a day-to-day basis should directly feed into your top line of the business. And that's why it's very important to draw these what I call KPI DuPonts. Very important to draw this for every product manager, because this is where it starts connecting what are the most important metrics in product, and what are the driver ones, what can you influence, and how do you drive value using data, using tracking, keeping an eye on certain metrics, making sure that you have focus on that. It's basically, you can only manage what you can measure. So you would start measuring the right things, because there's, again, as I said, hundreds and thousands of things that can be actually instrumented, but not everything is going to be meaningful. And in order to find what's meaningful, this KPI DuPont approach will give you an idea of your L1, L2, L3s, and sometimes L10s, and get a very clear idea of, for L10, a 10% improvement in this L10, what's the impact on L1, right? Even though it may be further down, that's the most influenceable income metric you have, and thereby it helps you create that day-to-day tactical connection from that to my quarterly, what is it that I'm going for. Hope this helps. This is today, we are wrapping up product analytics, and we'll see you next time.